I'm really starting to like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayCara.com. At ShopPayCara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayCara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go, come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico, it's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and zero sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
Let's go race.
Come on, man. You have to fight to pull ahead, to find your edge, to do whatever it takes to make you 1/10 of a second faster, smarter, more committed than the other guy. Because you've got the kind of passion that can overcome the impossible. And we've got the most powerful performance race fuel available to help you do it. Sunoco Race Fuels. Take the lead.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
USA West is the official West Coast importer for IAMI engines and parts. Our dedicated and knowledgeable staff have a combined 50-plus years experience in the sport and can help you with all of your needs. Call us today or visit our website to find your local dealer to shop.
Qualifying underway here at Speedsportz Racing Park in New Caney, Texas. The 2026 season is upon us. My name's Xander Clemens, alongside me, Caleb Viesca, ready to bring you all the action from opening weekend for the Skusa Winter Series. Caleb, warm weather greeted us when we rolled into town, and over the end of the day yesterday in a wet and wild happy hour session, the rain continued overnight. It's a cooler morning and a mixed bag of groups for qualifying.
Sessions happened, split up, and again, when you look at yesterday, at the end of the
So with the first group to a close here for K100 Junior, presented by TKG Beryl Art USA. Tristan Murphy tops the charts for Ryan Perry Motorsport to set that benchmark at a 56 3-1-1 over Nico Orbezo. Nathan Golseth, one of many drivers starting the new year in some new colors with Speed Concepts Racing. He ends up third in the group and onward to Emilio Bolanos and Gabriel Balog. 16, that's about halfway through the 30-plus K100 Junior group. Tristan Murphy, big name to find himself in the slow group, Caleb. He's not alone amongst many drivers we'll see in qualifying coming up that are going to have to hit the track first because Happy Hour sets the lineup, sets the group split, and sometimes it doesn't go your way. Yesterday, a wild one.
Yeah, definitely. Like we were talking about a little bit earlier, right? Yesterday with the mixed conditions, kind of mixed things up at the end of the happy hour session. And you saw also that a lot of local drivers that we expect to be fast here, like Nicholas Orbezo, like your Nathan Golseth from the state of Texas, found themselves in that slower group. But when you get to this fast group, if you will, as they're led out onto the racetrack by the 810 GWR of Carson Berry, it's going to be a mix of who's going to be able to put it on the pole position here today. And this is the first race, the first time that a lot of these drivers are finding themselves racing against each other for the first time in New Year. And again, we talk about rookies moving up into the junior class from the Mini Swift. A good number of drivers that have made the move over to the junior class. So that's an exciting thing to see. New names starting to populate up at the top of the timing charts, with also 5 rookies moving up to the X30 and KA senior divisions. One of those rookies being Lawrence Perriman, making his KA junior debut here this weekend.
Yeah, LP in the 814 LN card. He's had already a couple of big moments on screen, most notably his shootout victory at the IAMA USA Grand National Championship. We'll touch a whole lot more on the 2026 calendar as this broadcast continues throughout the day, but definitely another event to note, the fact that it has moved from its location over the last couple of seasons at the end of the summer to kind of begin the summer break, if you will, at the end of May, moving away from the end of August into September. So it ends off a 3-week mainstay we'll have in North Carolina of back-to-back majors, but the first major of the year, going back to some of the drivers that are returning and aren't rookies, looking to set themselves as the standard. Alexander Vanchev began on the right foot in Orlando last year, and it was a historic run for the Florida native to roll all the way from Orlando Kart Center's opening round of the Winter Series to the grandest stage of them all, making his senior debut at the Skusa Super Nationals and starting inside the top 10, fighting for the lead, leading laps in the early part of that main event. And now we're waiting to see who's going to be the next star of our junior categories. Unfortunately, that's not the way you want to kick things off. Rookie Braden Wagner having a spin there on the Norberg Karting Academy GFC in the infield. But across the start-finish line, with the first couple of laps populating here from group number 2, the faster half, Carson Berry off the back of mastering the wet conditions yesterday right now. He finds himself 13th, still top of the group. That's the fastest of them so far. Max Christia's new colors, the red and black MPG Motorsports machine in the Alliance, and essentially not a merger, but a merger of the drivers, if you will, with J. Howard Driver Development housing their talents under the MPG banner, but MPG Motorsports shifting to become the official Kart Republic North America team for 2026. Max Christia looks to be their bullet in the gun for this weekend, and KA Junior, at least he's starting off strong, and we'll wait to see what the third lap entails this time by the loop as they rocket around. Here's Travis Pettit. Ended last year with a swap to the Rawlsley Performance Group camp. It's touted by many that he was going to be a favorite in 2026, Caleb. Looking at his time across the board, that lap will put him 6th here with still one more in the bank.
And again, this transition for Travis Pettit, perfect, right? With Alexander Vanchev last year being his last year in the junior division, kind of made way, right, for a driver like Travis Pettit in the 802 to lead that contingent in the junior field. And after wins last year, looking to finally get some championships this year. I believe was only able to get the Stars Championship Series championship, but again, fought in all 3 of the big national series for the number 1 plate coming into this year. And you see the 802 with the 2nd place in the championship last year. At the end of it, he's now in 6th at the moment, about 4/10 off of the time that Tristan Murphy was able to set for Ryan Perry Motorsports. Orbezo in 2nd. He was in the slower group as well with Nathan Golseth, Bolanos, Gabriel Balog. I will see what Pettit can do as he works his way into the boot, turn number 14. And this is going to be critical. Kemper Jr. and a lot of movement here. Christia goes to the top in the 839 with a 56.205. There goes Pettit, only 6th, as Easton Cox for High Five Performance in the 815. A 56.035 for Easton, the provisional pole position, and I think it might be good here, Xander.
Think so. That'll be the end of the group. Alex Chandler sneaks into the top 5 at the end of it all, but how about it? Easton Cox and the Oklahoma-based High Five Performance crew score the pole, first of 2026's national calendar. In KA100 Junior, Max Christia will join him on the front row for the pre-final later on this morning. Tyrone Kemper Jr., 2 High Five red speeds in the top 5. Of course, Tyrone Jr.'s had a number of major spotlight moments over the last few years, but Easton Cox, first career national pole, that's huge here, and to do it in his home state's got to feel awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we've seen Easton a whole lot over at the Texas Sprint Racing Series, and again, hasn't been able to get that first win, and this weekend to get a pole position at a track that he's very familiar with. That's definitely a great showing for High Five.
Awesome stuff to kick off the day. First session in the books. KA100 Junior taking a look through how they're going to stack up for the rest of the day. The drivers further back here, likes of some rookies. Santiago Orioli making the move upwards. Mason Berry a little further back here than his brother. He's back in 28th. Nico Katowski, also a driver to keep an eye on, starting further back. No times there from Franco Escoto or Alexander Savage. Don't know if we'll see them today. 35 in total, turning laps around the 3/4 mile Speedsportz Racing Park circuit here in New Caney. Host of both rounds of the 2026 Superkarts USA Winter Series. In the middle, you'll have the Rotax Max Challenge Winter Trophy making its first ever trip to Speedsportz Racing Park, but it's not the first time we've had a Rotax Major and Rotax Grand Finals tickets handed out at this very racetrack. You have to go back almost a decade ago, but Speedsportz Racing Park played host to a Rotax Max Challenge national level event, sent off a number of Texans to the Rotax Grand Finals. That caps off the international calendar in December this year. Again, the build towards that begins now. It's the second ticket opportunity of the new year. I believe there's one event. I believe it's the Asian Trophy, one of the other international trophy events in January. It's the reason we won't get Henry Beaudet for that opening weekend. Reason we get to have you for opening weekend of the Rotax Max Challenge Winter Trophy at the end of this month, January 30th to February 1st. But that also on the Evenco tires like this for the very first time means that this weekend, the first of 4 weekends with the same rubber on this circuit, back to back to back to back, not to mention testing in between, Caleb. I'm really excited to see what the surface looks like by the time we roll out of here in February, even when we roll in for championship weekend, because your drivers talk about that a lot, that when you have different tire compounds and they're kind of almost laying rubber on top of each other or almost clearing off the rubber laid down from a different manufacturer, we're going to have the same brand, the same tires going on this surface for the next 6 weeks.
And that'll be one of the interesting factors, right? And even you go back to last weekend when they were testing here to get ready. They were open, I believe, speaking of Alan Rudolph yesterday, track owner, they were open on New Year's Day because of the amount of people that wanted to come out here and test and put down laps here at Speedsportz Racing Park. So that's going to be a continuation, and I think we're going to see some record lap times here at Speedsportz by the end of this time here, whenever we get to rounds 3 and 4. So these boys and girls are only going to get faster and faster as the weeks go on. And again, I think what we see this weekend with a little bit of rain, with a little bit of cool weather, engines are going to be working at peak performance and so on and so forth. So it's going to be exciting to see the rubber being laid down here at Speedsportz, and some fast sections, must be said, the opening sections. So it can only carry more speed, I think, as the weeks go on.
Green flag waving. First group released here from KA Senior. Let's take a look here at the final practice results and who are some other names to watch in our first of the 2 groups headed onto the racetrack. 36 drivers in total turned a lap in the final session on the day in the class presented by Orsilon Racing. And a little spin there for the 994, Francisco Maurice on the RPG Cosmic. But right out of the gate, here's one we can talk about there in the red and... Oh, another spin. That is one of the Velocity Racing Sodis, probably Vladimir Protavich. And indeed,
Correct.
Vlad going for a spin there. But Mad Max Weiland with MPG Motorsports and Kart Republic, not just a new team, but a new chassis manufacturer for Max, and, of course, a new category. One of many rookies making the jump up to the senior divisions in 2026. He was just below the cut line in Happy Hour, 20th on the board for Max Weiland. But again, that wet happy hour really kind of shook things up from some of the drivers that showed more promise earlier in the day. He leads veteran Finnegan Bailiff around as they kick off lap number 1.
Yeah, first lap already underway. And again, a couple of names that we haven't seen at the Winter Series yet. The 926 of Jared Clark finds himself here. Santiago Duran, another local for Orsilon Racing. So again, a lot of drivers that I would say quite familiar with this racetrack. And that just changes whenever you have the entire national circuit come out here. But with a minute and a half in, drivers going to start to set in their lap times as we get started here, Xander.
Yeah, just an opening lap underway here for Finnegan Bailiff. Finn was mighty fast already. His winter season kicked off with WK's Daytona Kart Week about a week and a half ago. He was competing for the win in all 4 race sessions, both heat races he was in, the split pre-final, and the main event, part of about a 6 to 8 driver battle pack for the race victory. Didn't come up with the first place trophy, but he and his brother Gavin were mighty quick down in Daytona Beach. And he looks strong here, having gone by Weiland and leading this 4-pack down the back straightaway. They've also, again, got Matthew Cagle, who has moved up from the junior ranks. And aboard a GFC, aboard a brand new national race team. Welcome to the Norberg Karting Academy. Ryan Norberg pioneering GFC's Eastern half efforts in the winter of 2026. He's got the command of the camp. Gary Carlton's here. Sonny Cervelli, team manager and brand manager for GFC, also on site as well. But it'll be a new logo for the black and white machines here in January and February's KC Skusa Winter Series and Rotax Max Challenge Winter Trophy events. Matt Cagle trying to put that logo to the top. He's got to run across the straightaway. This time look decent. He'll get to the bumper. A harrower go to second. But you got to go to Chris's teammate for the new fast lap, as you mentioned. Skusa Winter Series debut, North Carolina's own Jared Clark to the top, 55.502. You can see him back there, top of the screen, all by himself, no toe right now for the BJR driver.
And that's one of the surprising factors as well, right? You talk about a straightaway that's this long here at Speedsportz Racing Park. Talk about the toe being an important factor, which is, you know, and kind of being disproven here with Finnegan Bailiff at the front of his group. You know, working on his own, and Jared Clark just a little bit ways back, not really within that toe range to the 3 drivers ahead of him. So really interesting, right? For him to get out there, just open room to stretch his legs out and set in some good lap times. It's definitely working out here for Jared so far. And got to think, right, there's still another half of drivers that have to hit the racetrack, like Mateo Rubio Luengo, like Donovan Bonilla with a new team. But as it ends, Max Weiland goes to the top with a 55.258. Clark back to second, to Harrower, to Matthew Cagle. Tortato in the P5 spot with Santi Duran sneaking in there now and in the 974, beating his fellow Orsilon Racing teammate. But that's it for the first half. Max Weiland goes quickest by almost a second, 0.085. The gap in between Weiland and Clark, a 55.258. The time to beat for the second group.
So that'll do it. That's only a 4/10 gain from what we really saw in the KA Juniors, and a bit to be expected with the difference in weight balanced out by the lack of the exhaust restrictor, but they're still, again, a little ways off probably of where we could have been had we had a fully dry final practice session. But 2 drivers that probably weren't too upset about it. The first 2 leading the way out. Cameron Weinberg's return to the seat, taking over the Holtz Driver Development KA Senior Division lead car, and Sawyer Roussel, who got a bit of winter action at the Apex South event in New Orleans about a month ago. The Louisiana native, second in happy hour. He has had some moments where he has really started to shine in the latter half of 2025. Caleb, you got to see a lot of those on display with the Texas Sprint Racing Series. But the kid is still ragged and very raw. The talent is absolutely developing under the guidance of Gary Willis and Team GWR. Yesterday on full display with the great equalizer, the rain, having him go up to P2 on the board.
Yeah, and again, for Sawyer, he's one of the taller drivers in the field, right? So definitely benefits a whole lot out of the rain and the wet conditions. But again, you talk about the results he had last year. I think at the end of the year when we were at the Dallas Karting Complex, he was looking good for a podium there at the final round of the Texas Sprint Racing Series. He fell back, just kind of fell off the pace a little bit. But again, like you said, and like you mentioned, right, under GWR with Gary Willis, you got to think about the drivers, right, that Gary Willis has developed. Talk about Alex Stanfield. Talk about a guy like Connor Zilish, talk about Ryan Norberg, Austin Garrison, all the drivers that went through that program, and now Sawyer Roussel, learned from one of the best coaches, if you will, in the business, getting himself up and nicely in qualifying with Donovan Bonilla right behind him, like you mentioned. A lot of faces in new places, and Donovan Bonilla being one of those, moving over to Speed Concepts Racing for the weekend and to start off 2026.
Yeah, this is big. Donovan Bonilla has been with our Rollison Performance Group for nearly every start he's made stateside. The driver who hails from Mexico yesterday was good in both the dry and the wet. He's once again doubled up, competing in both Pro X30 and K100 Senior. Enters the weekend as a driver to keep your stopwatch on for the moment they went green in the first practice session. But it's one thing to kind of change the environment if you have other variables changing or you haven't been with any program, any chassis, or any manufacturer, any engine builder, for example, for more than, a year or 2 years. But for Donovan Bonilla, every United States event pretty much, he's been used to going to the home of the blue and pink. And this weekend to be over with Speed Concepts Racing, no doubt a powerhouse. Skusa Pro Tour Pro X30 champions. Their junior record speaks for itself. They've had speed every time they've unloaded with K senior packages as well. And, of course, Speed Lab Engines as powering more than just the SCR camp, but quite a few of the top contenders. So there's no question that going from one group to another in the same go-kart is still going to be primed for success. But this has got to feel very different, very fresh probably for the first time in a while for Donovan Bonilla.
Yeah, not only for him, but for a lot of drivers, right, that have made the move, just a fresh start somewhere else, something different, kind of reigniting that fire, giving you something else to look forward to or not knowing what to expect, right, when you get to the racetrack. So that could also help. You talk about the mentality of a driver. It just all kind of plays a factor when you talk about going fast. So new colors for Donovan, and so far hasn't made an impression inside of the top 10. He's currently in 14th, but again, this will be one of his better laps. And you can talk about, again, some differences as well for the 915 and Chase Gassiet-Lee restarting that Bennick Senior program that we haven't seen in a couple of years, Xander. I think you got to look back to when I believe ZCD ran for the team as well as Frankie Mossman and a couple of others. But again, it's a Bennick chassis based off of an Intrepid from what I understood. But this is something new for Chase Gassiet-Lee as we get to the end.
Yeah, we'll touch on that more here as the last few drivers come across the line from our second group. Mateo Rubio Luengo topping the board by 15 thousandths over Cash Perkins. Colin Lloyd, Edgar Rodriguez with another solid qualifying effort here in the Winter Series. The SLA driver always finds a way to show quite a bit of speed. Weiland, though, will make his debut from the inside of row 3, provisionally ahead of a Supernats champ in Bonilla, already a K national winner in Jared Clark, Juan Paramo, Chase Gassiet-Lee as mentioned, and then Chris Harrower. And you got to go back actually further than that. When both Mossman and DeMello ran, they were on OTK chassis under the Bennick banner. This, you have to go way back, nearly to 2018 or 2017 for the last time they really made a significant push in development of trying to create a full-size chassis. The Intrepid factory does produce the Bennick Cadet chassis, so to come out of the same home, same warehouse, same factory makes sense. But yeah, they've had one weekend of racing on it. They've had a handful of test weekends as well. Ran good at the Homestead Karting Challenge event. I believe if he didn't win it, it was fastest lap at about half the session. So they had a lot of confidence rolling in. Well, that'll put him inside of row 5 of our 36 driver KA senior field provisionally. But how about Georgia's own Mateo Rubio Luengo, his second full year back behind the wheel, I believe. And with the BJR crew, they're back on top in KA Senior. Feels like just where they left off in 2025. What a year they had in the 100cc class.
Yeah, definitely for Mateo as well, right? Now seeing Paulie and James focusing solely on the X30 package this weekend. Opens the door for a couple of new drivers like Matteo to put himself top of the timing charts and starting on the pole position whenever the pre-final gets the green flag later on today. And that'll be behind the paywall as well, so don't forget to become a KC Premium member for only $9.99 a month. You can watch all the racing action live. And we will look forward to joining you as well in the afternoon.
With that, we've got 2 groups in the books. If you want to know what's coming up, well, we've got our KA classes obviously locked, loaded, and now set for pre-final action. In total, there are quite a few entries across the board. It's a pretty even spread, actually, for the Winter Series. Micro Swift's a pretty solid number as well. I think just shy of 30, if not over it. X30 Junior will roll in the 4 seed. Pro X30 in the 5-hole, and then KA100 Master was on the chopping block. They had more than enough. Needed 10 entries to get the class made. They have 19 in KA Master. They'll roll in the 6 seed. Mini Swift will then roll out 7th, and capping off the lineup, bat and cleanup will be the Pro and Master Shifter combined group. 14 Pro Shifters, 1 Master Shifter competing here this weekend. But that's the smallest number. Everything else heavy into the double digits, and nearly every class as well at 30 plus. But KA Senior, Matteo Rubio Luengo, fastest overall. And we switch again right from them at the marquee and headline age group down to the youngest, the Micro Swift Superstars again on deck while your KA Seniors clear through the scale line. There's a look at now no longer a rookie, sophomore Sebastian Garzon with Orsolone Racing rolling on through. There's quite a bit of talent that'll have to try and knock off the 906 machine come the pre-finals later today. We've seen almost 50-50 if you break all the races down to the KA Senior class over the years of coming to Speedsportz, where you've had some one-driver breakaways and some stellar performances. At the same point, we have definitely seen some major dogfights of 4 to 6 and more at the front of the field. We'll chat with more of our drivers as this broadcast continues. For now, though, we've got the young superstars on circuit. Micro Swift underway, presented by Avinco Tires for their first of 2 groups.
Yeah, first of 2 groups, and some drivers as well making the move up into this class. Again, I believe this was the Micro Swift class. They had the most graduating members that went up to the Mini Swift field. I think out of all of our fields, pretty much on the schedule. So gives chances for a couple of different drivers, right, to get into the spotlight. A couple that are moving up from the Kit Kart divisions are Vettel Baker in the 209. We saw him a whole lot last year in the Texas Sprint Racing Series, now moving up and taking part here this weekend, as well as a couple of other drivers. But this is, again, the second group that works their way out.
And as they work their way down the backstretch for our second group, a 108.55. We'll see how quick they can go on lap number 2. At the same point, a good morning to you, David Land, down on pit lane as we get the micros with 1 spun around the 209 of Vettel Baker with a spin. But down to you, Dave, catching up with some of the action and the drivers down in the pits.
We just kind of locked in. We really narrowed down on some points that we really needed to work on, and we managed to nail all those points today, and we managed to get pole.
So what do you think this track's going to race like later today? I mean, this is always a crazy class, but what do you think this is going to look like?
Just how racy it is, honestly, it's going to be chaos, in my opinion. So thank God I'm on pole, and I can sort of set the pace a little bit, but honestly, my goal is just to get out front and try and kind of get away from everybody, but we'll see how that goes.
One of the first people to come down and congratulate you was Paulie Massimino. I mean, how important is that for you?
I mean, it's super important. We're all like family over here. He's really helped me adapt to where I am now, so thanks to him.
Well, Mateo's going to try to avoid the chaos by starting out front. Somehow I think that's not exactly going to happen. We'll see.
Thank you, Dave. Matteo Rubio Luengo, the next of potentially the BJR KA Senior Superstars to score a major win. He's got the prettiest place on circuit to do it from in the pre-final, starting from the pole of the 18-row grid. Let's see how the pole battle continues right now here in Micro Swift. Across the line, Enzo Botero now the fastest, a 101.87. Shep Sullivan into second. Dan Tukulescu into third. Trey Sanders fourth, one of the handful of returning drivers that we'll find in this group. JJ DeShong as well. He'll jump up to P3 on the last time by at a 102.11.
Go down to Wyatt White, Leopoldo Santos Rodriguez with Wiley Lee, Michael Dean, Rodolfo Garza, your top 10 so far. But a 101.873. And I think we might just see that fall another second once we see the fast group hit the racetrack. But we'll keep an eye on it as they continue to roll around. And again, interesting that Mateo spoke about the racing, as I think might be a loose pipe there on the racetrack for one of these drivers. But again, this track we saw last year races relatively well. But again, that back straightaway will promote a lot of drivers to try and put themselves at the bottom of the racetrack, not let anybody get through. And we'll see how it all pans out. But checkered flag in the air as Trey Sanders able to get himself up to second, to Sullivan, to Sebastian Kim, JJ DeShong, Wyatt White able to get himself inside of the top three. But Botero, driver to beat for the fast group, a 101.211 for Enzo.
And a pretty decent spread as well. 4/10 back to Trey Sanders. He's got to give a little confidence for Enzo Botero's Orsolone Racing crew watching along. We believe it may have been Dan Duculescu in seventh that might have had the loose pipe. He stayed out there, finished the session. Didn't seem to be fully disconnected, but just enough off the header to have that awfully loud and unfortunately incorrect sound there that instantly you know when you're out on track. He'll see that when he comes into the scale line as the fast group gets released. And we go to the other half of your Micro Swift contingent, just shy of 30 total. Leading them out, Tristan Francisco, Bodie Bayer, Liam Compatiello, Jack Katowski. Big spin for Katowski in the S. I was about to say it was off a big 2025 finale and a good start to the year. And there were about 5 others. Ended up backwards there at turn number 2. Big moment to start qualifying.
Yeah, I've definitely done that a time or two, especially through that section when you don't have tires that are up to temperature. Very easy to spin into the first 3 corners. But again, for a driver like Tristan Francisco getting set to start his first full year stateside, we saw brother Liam Francisco and obviously cousin Jaden Francisco last year. And again, the first time Tristan's working his way out there, I believe Canadian national champion in 2025. Now looking to start off 2026 on a high, the 217. Going to lead this field out. And we'll see what he can do this year stateside, as well as a couple of other drivers. Talk about Bodie Bayer, I believe Santana, the first time we're seeing him since just about this time in the Winter Series last year for the 219. But here we go. Time starting to come in for these young drivers.
Kart CRG USA based down here in Houston, Texas, with a big group of black and orange machines and the next generation of them working together along the back straightaway. And further back here, let's take a look at the Orsolone machine that is starting to threaten at the top of the field. In this group here, quick off the back was Bodie Bayer, and there's one Orsolone machine not going to have a good lap this time. The 280 going off. It is still very, very wet in the grass off track. It'll probably be treacherous. I mean, there's still standing water at the exit of a couple of corners, well offline. Will probably still be hazardous by the time we go green with pre-finals, though, Caleb. When we roll through Switchback City, right there, 2 and 3 wide, you'll see through some of these switchback 180 corners. And thinking back to last year, very reminiscent of the main events even that we had at Speedsportz. Another spin there across the line. That was the 213 going around a Compatiello on the Pinnacle Racing Development TB kart. But it was almost a strategic move of trying to box a driver into the water. Ryan Norberg and Austin Garrison put that on full display with the major puddle down the front straightaway that typically forms in their head-to-head fight. A phenomenal display of racecraft that we were treated to last year in back-to-back main events, but it'll be something not just for the drivers to obviously keep in mind and try to avoid, but almost look and see as qualifying progresses if those puddles of standing water remain and keep that in mind of when and where you want to make passes to put another driver, the one you're battling with, in a vulnerable or compromising spot.
And there's a lot of, like you mentioned, right, tricky spots on the racetrack where there will be some dampness that will hold a little bit longer. This spot specifically, right, you talk about everything offline and everything kind of through the grass where you don't want to be is going to be absolutely flooded. So for these drivers, you don't want to put a tire off track. You don't want to make a mistake even. But this right here is going to be kind of slick, and as well as the rumble strips on the outside that do hold water. That paint just very, very slick, almost like ice whenever you get down to it. This corner specifically, right, turn 6, the hardest braking point on the racetrack, with water that stands all the way on the rumble strip. So just drivers needing to avoid that. But as we look back to the timing charts, Jack Katowski puts himself fastest in the Micro Swift class, presented by Avinco Tires, the 101.061 for the 204 of Jack Katowski. Otero still holds on to the second spot, with Tristan Francisco only up to third. Sanders holds on. Wyatt White as well holds on inside of the top 5. So that slower group is holding on quite strong in this qualifying session. We'll see Katowski. He had to make a move this time by, I think, on the 205 there of Ferrantes. So as he gets onto the front stretch, Francisco able to go fastest. Katowski looking to set in a good lap. Checkered flag in the air for Jack Katowski, and it will be enough. A 60.622 for Jack Katowski to claim the provisional pole position, still with a couple of drivers crossing the start-finish straight. Strayer up to 4th. Pena only 5th. What a drive, though, out of Jack Katowski in the 204. That should be pole position in Micro Swift for the TKG driver.
So there you have it, folks. Jack Katowski, 60.622, nearly 3/10 above Tristan Francisco, and another 3 back to Enzo Botero. We might just have 2 drivers already asserting themselves as the standard in the Micro Swift category for 2026. So qualifying wrapped up for them. Halfway through for us overall. 2.5 groups, now 3 in full. Completed, 5 more on tap. X30 Junior and Pro X30 getting ready to roll here next. We return from Speedsportz.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
It's like $20 a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like $50 a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Gee, looks like we're missing the engine. What the hell am I supposed to tap?
What do you mean? It's my Greyhound. It's all I need.
Where's the rest of it?
It doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
You gotta make way. Okay, you're good.
Sitting by here with Kyle, our race winner. Tell me how you did it. You were blazing fast out there, and I mean, you don't even have a go-kart, man. Tell me about it.
Yeah, you know, Norberg, Schmorberg, the Greyhound-powered Greyhound was great today. You know, it makes the difference. And the team's been working really hard back at the shop, and, you know, just shout out to Greyhound.
Thank you, Kyle.
How the did you just win?
Doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. X30 Junior onto the racetrack for the first of two groups. This class, yesterday's practice sessions, practice 4 and practice 5, they started to get affected by the inclement weather. Boy, did it shake things up. You saw drivers well outside the top 20 punch into the top 5 and top 10 in the happy hour session, and the inverse as well. So, kicking things off here with the first lap underway, you can already see a big name from earlier this morning. Easton Cox, your KA Junior top qualifier, finds himself here in the first of the two groups. So does Aston Wyatt, hometown and home racetrack for the junior rookie. And beyond him, plenty more. Alexander Savage didn't make a lap in KA Junior qualifying. He's obviously out on circuit here in X30 Junior. And he looks to be right ahead of Easton Cox's High Five Performance Red Speed, who is already trying to carve up the pack that he has put himself in and reposition for later on. Caleb, you touched on the tow in qualifying. I could speak to that because it was about 2 years ago when I got a heck of a tow lap to put myself pretty high up at a regional race here. It does make a difference. It absolutely does help, no doubt. But at the same point, for one, when you have the track getting massively quicker and a ton more grip lap after lap in the condition that it's currently in. A little bit cooler morning, the rain overnight. It's really hard to put your faith in drivers in front of you to be able to find the limit as quick as you can. And that's why, again, right now, Easton Cox, he's making it look easy. He's not really got much of a choice. As quick as he's caught the drivers that he's just passed, that was 3 passes in the matter of a lap. And you can see the gap he's already begun to put on them. And again, they were released in the order that they finished final practice. So how someone did in the happy hour, how someone even did in practice 4, and maybe even how they did in warm-up is not enough until you get to the really, really experienced and expert level drivers like we'll see in the fast group here in junior and especially in Pro X30, that you can say, yeah, this guy, he was quicker than me before. He was quick again this morning. I can drag the brake on the outlap. I can wait. I can close up to him, you know, maybe being a tenth or two quicker. You might be half a second quicker, and at that point, it just makes it that much harder to judge how to start your lap and where you'll end it.
Yeah, and again, turn 6, right? That's only the halfway, not even really. The halfway point would be here in the double right. So you still have the rest of the lap, half a lap, to try and set in a good lap time. And if you're right behind somebody's rear bumper, especially here to turn number 11, what we call the buckle, this is, not good, especially when you have one of the fastest sections to one of the, into the boot here. It's important that you get this section right. So if you are just right behind somebody, tripping yourself up, it's not going to be beneficial to your lap time at all here, Xander.
Yeah, you've basically got 3 slipstream sections. Once you kind of get past that last corner dogleg as the checkered flies midway through this group, with a couple drivers quickly popping back up, they'll unfortunately go 1 lap less than some of their competitors that went out at the front half of this pack. I think we'll see 5 laps for this first contingent of about 7 or so, back to the likes of Mason Berry, following Tristan Murphy right now, who sits quickest at a 54.242. Of course, you have that major back straightaway. You'll have a big slipstream effect about halfway down that all the way into the braking zone. But you actually get a good bit of tow coming out of the buckle once you get past the right-hand kink. You'll close up to someone pretty decently there if, again, you started the lap far enough back where you're not like this all over them. And now for Tristan Murphy on this final lap, and even catching up to the 725 of Eli Steinbruck, who went a little low to kind of almost defend that last corner, try to protect his personal lap to end the session, is going to end up with both of them not improving to take advantage of that 5th and final lap, and instead Enzo Di Gennaro does, as does Asher Pavon, and they'll slot them both back a little bit, or at least slot Steinbruck back. Murphy will still stay fastest, though. I'm sure he felt like he had more in the tank. He ends up with a 54.6 catching traffic the way that he did. So there you have it, 54.242. That's the time to beat for these kids on grid. Taking a look down to Nico Katowski, big brother to Jack, who just ran earlier in Micro Swift. And the remaining 17, I believe, headed out onto the racetrack for X30 Junior presented by Rollison Performance Group.
And already just looking down the list, rookie Colton Schiegenberg able to get himself into the fast group, who I believe made the move up for one start last year in the junior ranks. Now getting ready to start his first full season stateside in the junior ranks. And then again, a lot of sophomore drivers making their return, right? So a lot of drivers that are able to settle into this class and, you know, try and start to get real results here with, again, a graduating class that has also moved up into the higher ranks, the upper ranks, like Pro X30 and so on and so forth. But as we get going, Parker Ives finds himself in this group. Looks like Ashton Woon as well is in it. Travis Pettit and a couple of more that you heard a whole lot of last year in 2025. But Katowski already making moves, just looking to put himself in better position. The same for Travis Pettit, who's going to get both of them here. And again,
slick.
You just can't afford to do that all too much, right? Just got to settle in as the first lap starts to come underway.
Even with only a practice weekend and a couple of days of testing, and even with the decent amount of rain that we got overnight, the track has still got quite a bit of debris and marbles offline. So that's the part really, Caleb, that you're worried about when you're going back and forth through this session, is going wide in one corner. And you can see Parker Ives locked up pretty hard in the brake zone, had one driver kind of follow him off the cliff. Was hard to say if
that was
had any help.
Maybe.
Yeah, but no doubt, I mean, the moment that you go offline and you get all that onto your tires, it's a full lap to clean them back off, and you're going to have to, again, back up your corners. You're going to slide a little bit in the next couple. And if you've got someone like Hurricane Trav right on your bumper, he's just going to end up pushing you to the wayside by passing you cleanly on the inside, but, again, sending you onto the dirty lane again. And then the clock kind of resets of when you can reset. You can, again, see there the 704 machine just going a little bit wide, trying to follow Travis through. That's Antonio Pizzonia Nito, son of former F1 driver Antonio Pizzonia. Dad watching along. We've covered him since his Micro Swift days, going back to, I believe it may have been the Rotax Max Challenge Winter Trophy opening season, if not the second season. I believe we streamed the second season, brought that to you. I remember it specifically, had a great battle, both himself, I think his dad even competed in a handful of events early on at PK Race Park in West Palm Beach. We'll be headed back there later this year with the Florida Karting Championship. But for the RMC Winter Trophy, if they're staying for that one to contend for a ticket, if they're looking for a Skusa Winter Series title, it's all happening here in Houston. And the number 3 plate, first full speed lap for Ashton Woon. It'll put him 7th provisionally right now. He's not quickest of the group. That honor doesn't go to even Travis Pettit. It goes to Royce Vega, who had a huge debut in X30 Junior at the end of last summer, Caleb. Didn't really have a spectacular first half of the year as he closed out his mini Swift career. I mean, this is a driver who has won at every major stage in that category, probably went into 2025 thinking, I'll be the dominant driver, I'll be the favorite everywhere we go. And he was fast. He had good weekends, but just as many good sessions as he had. It felt like we were talking about Royce starting from the tail, rolling from the back, having a miscue in qualifying, having something amiss, and then eventually the kid would find his way towards the front. And I think by the midway point in the year, once he was out of the championships, they said, well, we can do a soft launch. And it wasn't soft at all. That kid came in guns a-blazing to the category.
Oh, yeah, you talk back when he was over at MCC with the checker flag coming out for the back half of the group. That goes to Josh Bergman, the Red Bull Junior Academy driver, who was fast yesterday. Today, not going to be enough for Josh. Only down in 20th. And for Royce, still has one more lap. The same for, I believe, Katowski, Pettit, and a couple of more. Liam Nachawati as well, one of the rookies, the 780, gets himself into 7th. So they will have one more lap as they pass the pit entry. So Vega, you talk about him last year, the Supernats qualified well, just couldn't put a result together throughout the heat races on his return to Skusa competition this weekend. Currently fastest by a 10th over Pizzonia Neto here. Last couple corners, Vega going to be the first to get it. 53.7 improves Woon now. Across only 3rd. Travis Pettit goes all the way to 5th with Katowski to 2nd. Nachawati to fourth. Grayson Wolcott up to fourth now in the 780. What a drive out of the RPG contingent, but nobody better than Royce Vega in the 739, the first pole position in X30 Junior in 2026.
There you go. Big time plays here from another Texas native repping strong for the home state over Nico Katowski. Nito, Grayson Wolcott again. Very impressive for Grayson Wolcott in his new home. Liam Nachawati, that makes it 3 blue and pink machines in the top 5, 4 in the top 10. Travis Pettit, he's got company in the RPG camp. We'll see how they all race amongst themselves. And then a number of Speed Concepts racing machines all right there, all within a couple of hundredths. How close it is. Half a second from first to 15th back to Parker Ives. And within it, just a matter of thousandths separating some of the spots. Pro X30 on the grid. It is quick out of the pit lane where the timer starts. David Land was talking with a number of the drivers here and how quick you have to be able to warm those tires up, and the way that you're released, again, the clock begins the moment you head out. That first lap, which showing 5 laps for some, 4 laps for others, right, is really a wash because you hit the timing loop instantly with the timer starting. We're seeing that first lap. It's not a true one. They're rolling about 100 feet out of the grid. So with no warm-up lap, realistically, for everyone outside of these last couple of groups that have gotten the first 5 or so to get to 5 laps, they're really getting 4, and the middle of the pack on back are only getting 3. So the pressure is on to try and really build heat really early, and at the same point to do that, you're weaving the tires, you're warming the brakes up and jamming them down hard. You still are going full throttle down the straightaways, but you're not hitting marks in terms of going fast, and where that's a problem, well, everyone else just saw what we saw, Caleb, that the first 7 karts got an extra lap. So, do you try to really maximize the outlap to bring the tires up to temp, these sticker Avinco Reds? Or do you go full speed ahead, pass as many karts as you can, and try to make it as quick of an outlap as possible because you'll have that bonus lap for the tires to heat up to? That's what I'm really curious to see as we get to the experience divisions like Pro X30 and even Pro Shifter. I think we're going to have a split decision.
Yeah, it's kind of all to play for and situational, right? Once you get out there, you're going to figure out what you want to do. You could go out there with a plan, and it might not even go your way. So that being said, for a lot of these drivers, is just figuring it out early, and especially that first lap, that warm-up lap, like we mentioned, absolutely critical for them all, and as well putting themselves in a good position just with space, nobody around you, just being able to put down your lap time, especially in the 125cc category. But again, a couple of drivers making their return. I believe some first-timers here this weekend, like Jose Carlos Hernandez, who was fastest, I believe, yesterday in the happy hour session. Going to lead the field out, going to lead the second group out onto the racetrack, as well as a couple of more. 5 rookies taking part in the Pro X30 division here this weekend. And again, we'll touch on all of them, really. Max Weiland, one of the ones here. We talked about Alexander Vanchev, who I believe is in the faster group, with Hector Iturriaga in the 377 as well, making his debut with RPG in the senior ranks, and a sophomore in the division, James Overbeck in the 348. We saw him last year in the Winter Series, and we see him this year again in the Winter Series.
Yeah, but last year, kind of unplanned. He got caught sleeping, slept in a bit too late after New Year's, and the K100 senior class was filled up, so his only opportunity to compete the Winter Series was in the headline division, and that class nearly sold out as well. But 2026 looking to be a bit of a different campaign and plan for James Overbeck. More of a focus on the 125 categories. And the storylines continue of a new year and building upon progress for the driver that was the first out of the pit lane here in our first group, Davin Roberts. Kid only started middle school in September of last year, and he's going up against some of the most experienced drivers in the field. Oliver Hodgson, I believe, still may have been racing senior before Davin Roberts was born. That is how young this young man is. He is still one of the tallest drivers out on the racetrack, had a growth spurt pretty early on, asked for the age waiver, and experience and the respect that he has shown in his first full campaign in the senior classes last year proved that they were absolutely right across the board in the organizations to allow him to stay competitive, to be able to compete at minimum weight and race against the headline drivers. He was only 1 spot shy of going to the fast group for qualifying. Let's see what he can do to make up for it. First lap there, again, was just out of the pit lane, so not the best read, but again, going on strategy here. You can see how big the deltas are further back. Some drivers in this group waiting a little bit longer to bring the tires up to temp. I put Max Weiland in that group, Alejandro Ramirez as well in that group. But Overbeck, Roberts, Tiziano Rosso, Orcel there in the middle in the Nürburgring Academy GFC. He's in the all-blue suit there. They have obviously opted to go, hey, we'll try and get that 5th lap. We're slotted where we should be able to get it. Maybe we can use that to our advantage to punch up a little higher.
And we'll see. Was that I think that was one of the younger drivers on the racetrack.
That was a replay moment there.
Oh, okay.
All good. Rolling over to the last turn. Yeah. This is end of timed lap number 3. Truthfully, lap number 2. Overbeck to the line. Can he go any better than Orcel or Roberts? He will go better than Tiziano. Will not go better than Davin. And Fionn Shi with a big-time lap on lap 3 will take the RPG machine to the top. How about a true rookie in Pro X30? Hasn't competed in the class at all. Debut weekend. Fastest in group so far.
Yeah, it's a great lap there out of Fionn Shi. Again, his first start in Pro X30. We'll see what he can do at 388 already. Just that little bit quicker. Levi Sanguera in the energy machine gets himself up to 2nd. And he's just less than a 10th back in the 355 energy. Roberts in 3rd to, like you mentioned, Alejandro Ramirez in 4th to James Overbeck inside of the top 5. Ibrahim Din in 6th. Orcel to Karamaseli. Perrin and Iturriaga inside of the top 10. Here we go, checkered flag getting set to come out, and that's for Fionn Shi, who goes up to the top of 53.602 by 0.4 of a second over Davin Roberts, who's going to get an extra lap to try and take back the provisional pole here in the 2nd group.
So there we go. Davin Roberts, 2nd, and 0.4 away from Fionn Shi in the RPG Cosmic. At the end of the first group, talking about hitting it right and looking at the difference there, whether or not they got another lap or whether or not they were able to maximize it. Overbeck obviously having to make the pass on Tiziano. Front of the group will get a chance to answer. Roberts will be the first one to it. Can he at least cut the deficit down? 0.4 is a lot to ask, but he's got the bonus lap. He does it. 53.35. Davin Roberts with a heater at the end of the session. 2.5 clear. And the Young Bucks 1st and 2nd here in group number 1. Big time plays there from Davin Roberts and Ryan Perry Motorsport. And that same advantage will get extended to the first of the final group drivers. Blake Nash is going to be right around that borderline. You know, he's, again, eyes on it, maybe wanting to really maximize the outlap in terms of quickness. Massimino the same, and looks like all of them are going to hustle out of the grid to try and get every second they can. Time continues, and leading them out, it is a new look, a fresh look for Oliver Hodgson. Red and black colors as the driver was announced, moving to the Factory Karts brand under the KSG banner. The same banner, of course, that houses the Comp Kart brand, but it is 2 completely different go-karts coming out of 2 different factories. He had done a bit of development, a bit of testing on it in events at the end of 2025. A lot of winter testing as well. And now, for a driver who has spent the latter half of a decade representing the fluorescent yellow and blue on the grandest stages of them all, Oliver Hodgson. Fastest of the bunch outside of Jose Carlos Hernandez in final practice. He's our first driver out. And a fellow Brit behind him there, Gus Lawrence, the Supernats champ, says he's still waiting for what 2026 will entail. That season for him, split, of course, between events here as much as he can, along with his commitments abroad with PFI Karting. The same team, the same camp that Oliver Hodgson made a name for himself on the global stage. 2 drivers that have come on the almost identical journeys, just about 5 years apart, and now Gus joins him as he begins his first full season, 2nd year stateside, ahead of the rest of the big names on their opening couple of laps.
And again, these first couple laps are still going to be looking for a lot. You see Gus Lawrence as well as Oliver Hodgson just kind of sliding around through all the hairpins here. You see them, there's just a lot of counters here for both of these drivers as they try and just kind of muscle their way through the corners. But here we go. We'll see. This is going to be the first, really going to be the first relative lap for Oliver Hodgson. But again, you saw a 6/10 gain for Davin Roberts on his last lap, right? It was 4/10 to Fionn Shi, and he had to improve by 6/10 to put 2/10 then at the end of the session to the 388 of Fionn. So we'll see how it goes for him. A couple of drivers that were fast yesterday, Aiden Ingrata in the 310. That name was mentioned a lot as I was roaming the paddock and talking to these Pro X30 drivers. He sits in front of Diego Ramos at the moment, who, again, had a good showing at the Super Nationals as well. Was on for a fight to the win until those last couple laps. The same for Alexander Vanchev in what's his second real start in the senior division, his first regular season start, if you will, for Alexander. Nonetheless, we'll see what Blake Nash can do with the 5 plate on his card after finishing 5th inside of the Circle of Champions at the end of 2025.
Yeah, the single-digit plate for Blake, single as well for Diego Ramos, the 4 plate for the PSL driver. Still taking a minute to get those tires up to temp. Nash across the line will jump to 6th. Ramos all the way down in 11th. Massimino down in 10th. Showing how much time they really need to bring these tires up. Alexander Vanchev, decent lap, puts him 7th. But they're so far back from Hodgson and Lawrence, I don't know if they'll get the 5th lap. That has seemed to be the difference maker, or if they'll end up at 4. Vanchev there trying to move, wheeling Ramos and sends it right at the Pro Tour KA champ, and Diego says, that's enough, kid. Parks it on the apex, says, dude, let's lock back in, and Alex is going to maybe take a moment now before he makes another try at him. Let's see what he opts to do. Is he going to stay on him or back off? I think he's right there. Took a look back, sees Paulie Massimino bearing down a little, and Ramos still narrow in the last turn, really tripped him up again. This is going to bottleneck that entire group, and this might be beginning their last lap. Checkers out right there, hitting one of the Beryl Art machines. Look to be Eric Doan.
Yeah, Eric Doan up to 6, but again, this is worst case scenario for these 4 drivers, right? For Jesus Vasquez Jr. at the back of it, for Diego Ramos, who's now finally going to let him through, and he put a hand up in the air to apologize for a mistake there, and this is going to be no good for these 4 drivers. For Vasquez, who's just kind of passenger to it all in the 4th spot of the group, and for Paulie Massimino as well as he goes by, just crowded here, and yeah, just kind of all got triggered after Vanchev tried to pass in the back, and yeah, just not going to be good for these 4 drivers to end their qualifying sessions. They find themselves buried in this field here, Xander. 13th for Vanchev, 16th for Ramos, Massimino only 8th, as a checkered flag for Hodgson, and Lawrence goes to the top.
4,000 separated, but Blake Nash was flying, and he'll put it to the top of the board over both of them. Nearly 3/10 ahead. Blake Nash by himself. A huge lap at the end will put the California native on pole for Pro X30's first event on the season in a big way. 52.897 for Blake Nash. Lawrence second, Hodgson third, and there you can see the difference of that bonus lap. Davin Roberts first out of the second group, able to maximize it and stay in 5th. Jesus Vasquez Jr. able to go to 6th on the Norberg Academy GFC. Eric Doan still ends up 7th with a decent effort. Aiden Ingrata 8th. Fionn Shi joins Doan as the rookies inside the top 10 ahead of Massimino. Finn Bailiff 11th, Overbeck 12th. And look at this, Ramos down in 16th, the 4 plate, with some work to do here on Saturday in Houston, Caleb.
Yeah, a lot of work to do for him. Donovan Bonilla down in 29th.
And he was way off.
Yeah.
Looked like there must have been something mechanically amiss for Dono. Here's Finn Bailiff's TKG Beryl Art machine going up and onto the stand. And as the class rolls on through, Jose Carlos Hernandez also definitely had some more to be desired from that one. The driver who was quickest in happy hour in the wet, he was phenomenal. He's always been one of the ones to watch. We've had wet conditions. His real name maker race came back nearly 2 years ago, Caleb. You were calling it, the U.S. Pro Kart Series at Newcastle, a wet and wild finale. He put it on the front row in front of a massive K100 senior field. Great to see a talent like him competing in Pro X30, the headline category with Orsilon Racing this weekend. I hope we get to see him doing that more this year. You know, obviously a little more. He's worked a ton with the Red Speed Texas and Orsilon Group, that alliance between the regional team based down here near Houston, and of course Orsilon's major traveling camp. Jose Carlos will be one to watch later today. He's exciting too.
Yeah, correct. You look back at last year when we were here for the Texas Racing Series at the opening round, we were monsoon weather out here, completely drenched, and Jose Carlos was able to beat the rest of the field, right? Finished on the top step of the podium, won that race by a good margin, and he definitely comes to life in those wet conditions. And again, that Red Speed team did rename Orsilon Racing Texas, now the regional team for Orsilon Racing. So a lot of work to do for Jose Carlos as Gus Lawrence in the 307. A little bit of a new look, if you will, with the suit for Gus, but definitely brought him some luck here in this one as he topped the timing charts over fellow countryman and Oliver Hodgson. With a new look, finished second as they look to continue to develop that single-speed chassis in the 359. Not a bad showing. First time in red for Oliver Hodgson. He's going to be on the front row as the Masters take on to the racetrack.
Just like that, right back at it, folks. KA100 Master out onto the circuit now, 19 deep, and I believe they may have split them. We'll confirm that here based on timing. No, it looks like they've got them all, so it'll be one big group, and there you see it. Plenty of them having some exchanges in sign language, trying to say, no, you go in front of me. No, all right, actually, stay behind me, please. Find a good spot to run. A big pack, a couple stragglers kind of out front, and one or two slower ones toward the rear, but a healthy turnout for the KA Master class. They didn't make it onto the Skusa Pro Tour campaign in 2025. Didn't have enough entries at the opening round and got scrubbed from the season. They were on the cusp of it for the Winter Series as well, but the drivers rallied. They've got a heck of a turnout here. And as we watch Scott Falcone work his way out of that last turn, they'll begin the laps at full song. And the inverted tuck for Falcone to try and get a little bit out of the air. There you can see it again. Mentioned it earlier, that front straightaway, definitely still a major slipstream effect, as well as the backstretch, as well as the run out of the buckle. But that said, let's go down to David Land. You've heard it enough from me. Let's hear from some more of the superstars after qualifying is concluded here for Pro X30.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. I was talking to Blake Nash down on the grid before the qualifying session. We were talking about getting heat in the tires, and I suppose you did a pretty good job of that. Talk me through that session.
Yeah, I was feeling a little bit worried after the first 3 laps just because I had like no heat whatsoever in the tire, no grip. And a lot of those guys that went out in front of me, they're taller, like I was talking to you about, and I think they just generated a lot more grip out of the gate, and they pulled away. So I didn't really have a draft, but I'm lucky enough. I saw some of the previous sessions. If you went out fast enough, you'd actually get an extra lap compared to those other guys that were kind of hanging back in the beginning. So I just tried to push as hard as I can on the cold tires and ended up getting that extra lap. And by that time, the tires were up to temperature, and you know, we set our kart up pretty good these last couple of days. And yeah, I can't thank everyone enough at Nash Motorsports. Got to thank OTK for the great product and Ryan Perry for just the absolute rocket ship of an engine. So hopefully we can keep it up there for the rest of the day.
We know how difficult these conditions are in qualifying. It's not going to get any warmer this weekend, unfortunately. So when we get into racing conditions, how important is that going to be to maintain tire temp and get it up to temperature quickly?
Yeah, for sure. So what we saw is that the tire degradation's pretty big here. I think the tires fall off really quickly. So it's definitely going to be an important job to keep, good care of the tire and not slide the karts as much. And it's one thing to be fast in the heat race and win it, but it's another thing to win the final, and you want to make sure you have enough tire to do that also.
So there you go, Blake Nash. Tires are going to be the story as well as the cool conditions, and he's pretty cool because he's on the pole.
Great points there from David, and great intel from Blake Nash as well, talking about the key of getting those tires into the operating window, Caleb. It's going to be crucial in the opening couple laps, and being able to break away in the S's and not have to defend down the backstretch, more than likely, or more than able to hit your marks in the switchback section to bring them really up. That's going to be big on a circuit and on a day like this.
And one of the big things that he hit, right, was a tire degradation as well. At a track like this, there's a lot of lateral load, right, with the amount of S's, the double rights, that it's a very fast section, the first 3 corners. So you'll see those rear tires start to degrade a lot as the weekend goes on. But with the checkered flag in the air, Scott Falcone, fastest overall. Janae Din to the top in the 4:33 to Calderon up to 4th. Pergande only 5th. Elizondo up to 6th. As here comes a couple of more drivers. McAllister's in 3rd. Piepenbrock couldn't improve. Tom Gershner, but Janae Din, this is the best result that he's had in his career as the Masters driver. Janae, a pole position in KA Masters.
Huge for Janae Din and Orsilon Racing. Massive, massive performance for Junaid. He said one of the reasons he loves to continue to compete is that he's still the cool dad to his son Ibrahim. Both drivers competing this weekend. Dad just put it on the pole. An Orsilon Racing lockout in K Master Qualifying. And how about T-Mac, the Arcane Motorsports team owner, Trevor McAllister, hopping behind the wheel. I don't know how much one-on-one on-track action he gets. I can't imagine it's a ton. He ends up 3rd in a big-time return over Brian Boley and Carlos Calderon.
I believe the last time we saw T-Mac was out here at Speedsportz Racing Park last year for the opening round of the Texas Sprint Racing Series. And again, he had a good couple of results there. Couldn't get it done in the end, but that's a great way to start at a track that he's all too familiar with. What a result to end qualifying for the Masters driver. Janae Din going to start on the pole position on the inside later on today as we get ready to go back racing or qualifying with your Mini Swift drivers. Mace Lasek getting ready to lead his group out onto the racetrack here.
36 deep. The final 2 qualifying groups coming up next here from Speedsportz Racing Park. You're watching the Skusa Winter Series on Kart Chaser. We'll be right back.
Every detail matters, but we need to try to avoid using expensive and fragile sensors. So I'm going to show you how we do it. So this is a comparison between the sensor, pink curve, and the accelerometer in blue. So we can read how hard the driver is applying the brake and how easy he's modulating his release in order to understand how the driver is braking. The sensor costs hundreds of dollars and the accelerometer is already in your dash, so you don't need to buy anything.
If you want to learn more about data analysis, sign up on my website. I will be launching an online course in December for people like you.
We all know that drivers, they learn faster when it's visually shown to them side by side what's the difference, right? So with the Smarty Cam, every time we put on the data, we're able to see the drivers side by side on the track. So here, for example, you can see that Diego is taking a curb and our other driver's not. You see that one driver's oversteering and the other driver's pretty much straight coming out of the corner. By showing this to them, they're able to absorb faster. And you can even play the videos simultaneously so they can see how they're performing through the track.
If you want to learn more about data analysis, sign up on my website. I will be launching an online course in December for people like you.
One thing that is really nice about the Micron 6 is with this new IMU platform, now they put an embedded channel with the steering wheel angle. This channel is really nice to use if you're trying to understand how the drivers are behaving through the corners, if it's oversteering, understeering. But you need to be careful. Because we're measuring this at 100 times per second, when you look on the data, it's very, very noisy. So when you look on the data, we have here the steering wheel angle raw output in blue, and then we have to apply a filter to treat this data, and then that's the filter in red.
If you want to learn more about data analysis, sign up on my website. I will be launching an online course in December for people like you.
Cool features that Race Studio 3 has that people normally don't know about it. If you look on the bottom left, I have the weather showing my ambient temperature, pressure, humidity, and even the wind direction and wind speed. To be able to get this, you got to create an account on the AIM website and just log in. If you log in and have internet on, it will pull the weather from the previous year of sessions that you have.
If you want to learn more about data analysis, sign up on my website. I will be launching an online course in December for people like you.
Cool feature.
Tiago Perezzino's chassis jig, the official partner for Mini Swift. And, well, I don't know if those two go-karts made contact. If they did, they might need to make a trip over to check the frame alignment. Because on the way out of the pit lane, we've had 2 of our Mini Swift competitors have an off-track excursion and absolutely cake those tires in the Speedsportz Racing Park grass. But 36 drivers means 18 per group following final practice. Track was actually starting to dry up for a little bit by the time they got out there, and it was back and forth between whether to go to slicks or rains. Let's see, with their outlap coming to a close, what this opening lap looks like, beginning with Mason Brody on the Ryan Perry Motorsport Nitro Kart. The 109 will lead them out, and then it's a group of about 8 deep behind him. Ty Morweck with MPG Motorsports, Samuel Chavery on the PSL Bureau Art, and lots of new names for us to get used to here in this Mini Swift category. Like you mentioned, Caleb, quite a few Micro Swift drivers making the leap upwards into the next rung on the Superkarts USA class ladder. But equally, we've got a lot of new faces joining the Skusa Winter Series for the very first time. California's Mason Brody, though, we've gotten to know him decently well over the last year and a half of his national campaign, coast to coast for the 109, and he goes at a 104.85 to kick off the session. Here's a look at Chavery, Marcelo Flores right in the middle there, the 188. Connor Lipka on the comp cart. And you'll see a pretty big delta on that opening lap. Let's see how big it is on this lap. Mason Brody looks pretty hooked up right now. Was pushing the limits, had a little wiggle there out of the last turn, but his gap backwards has definitely opened. It'll be 0.3 better than Morweck and about a half second better than the group. Marcelo Flores now at the front of it in that bright green Pinnacle Racing development machine.
Yeah, this is really the start of the second half of Marcelo Flores' rookie year in the Mini Swift class. Moved up early last year, halfway through, but again, he's returning here this weekend, as well as Liani Schiavo, I believe it would be one of her first starts in the Mini Swift class after what I think was running micro last year. Nonetheless, so one of the new faces in this Mini Swift field. When you look at the lap times at the moment, Mason Brody's still fastest with a 1:694 to Moraviec, Flores, Connor Lipka, Andrew Anastasio inside of the top 5 as we go 3 minutes into this session.
So 2 laps in. I don't think the Mini Swifts will be fast enough to go to 5, but lap 3 we'll see a big shakeup. How about Thomas Bertelt to the top, 59.99. Flores to a 1 minute flat. Lipka, 1:0.18. Mason Brody, a 1:0.19. So tightening up at the top of the field. Took that group we've been kind of keeping our tabs on down here a little bit to get rolling, but they're starting to go now. Flores still sent it pretty deep into the backstretch. This, I think, will be the money lap, though, for them all. And it'll kick off with Mason Brody still all by his lonesome, by himself, no tow, no driver to follow, no rabbit to chase, and no pusher from behind. He is still only 0.2 off the best. Let's see if this last lap can leapfrog him back to the top of the pylon. They've all picked up nearly a second a lap, if not more so, for some of the drivers that were battling early. Checkers indeed out. Everyone will only get 4 laps, 3 true ones. Brody at 59.8 won't be enough. It'll continue to shuffle. Flores, 59.39. Marcelo Flores to the top over Chavery and Lipka. That middle group took a moment to get sorted, Caleb. They will go 1, 2, 3. Marshall Steves, 4th with a good effort here in the group. Ty Morweck into 5th out of 59.66.
Yeah, great lap there out of the 112. Marcelo Flores to get himself top of the timing chart. Samuel Chavery, a driver who we saw on the podium last year at the Super Nationals back in November. He finds himself second here in the slow group. Connor Lipka to Marshall Steves, Tyler Moraviec, your top 5, and Brody was out there on his own, only 6th. But we get ready for the second half to hit the racetrack led on by Brody Stoffel. Again, one of the rookies in this field. The same just across for Salazar, I believe, second year for him in the Mini Swift class, and showing him the time to beat as they roll onto the racetrack.
59.39. The full group's going to roll out pretty quickly here behind Brody. It'll be a red and black machine 1-2 initially there, as it looked like a good launch off the grid for Jake Manolio in the 191. And they'll begin to try and bake some heat into those Avinco blues. 2 and 3 wide. Hudson Howard trying to make up spots quickly here to get himself positioned better for a run. He's going to start a little ways back from the top 4. That might not be the worst place to be here, half a lap into qualifying. And on the other end, a big moment right there.
Yeah, that was for the 144 of Alvarez, just sideways in turn number 6. But again, the Micro Swift class at the end of last year had the most drivers graduate into the Mini Swift class. You talk about Brody Stoffel, you talk about a couple others as well. Zev Gottschalk, I believe Win Gottschalk now starting his 2nd year. Dutch Westbrook, Hudson Howard, and I believe some more as well making their first starts in the Mini Swift class. But we follow along to Ryan Perry Motorsports Nitro Karts with Jake Manalio and Brody Stoffel. I believe Manalio fastest in the morning warm-up session as they look to start their first couple laps under full song with 2 rookies inside of the top 3 leading them away.
Manalio closed right up to him nicely there. He'll be close enough to give a little bit of help. Probably, if not by the end of the backstretch, definitely coming out of the buckle. He'll go right to the bumper of Brody Stoffel. This will be a good lap for Jake Manalio if it'll hold. Saw a lot of wheel input, though, going into turn number 6 there at the end of the backstretch. So he's probably still needing some more heat in the front tires. That'll come with 1 more lap at speed. Again, they only really have just that opening lap in the books, and then maybe, I don't know. They're going pretty quick. It'll be on the border of whether or not they'll get to the end of the 5 minutes before they can get a 5th bonus lap in, a 4th true lap, if you will. So this lap, a better read. First lap at full speed, coming out of the last turn. What's our benchmark going to be here? Brody Stoffel. Opening run by, decent. 14th overall, minute .49. Fastest of the group, just by a little bit over Manalio, Zev Gottschalk, Lorenzo Lopez, Kimo Ahmad, Win Gottschalk. First time in a while, I believe the brothers are back together, racing at the same event and in the same category.
Yeah, correct. Last year, they were Win was racing in the Mini Swift class, and Zev was racing still in Micro, and now Zev, one of the younger drivers in the field, making his first Mini Swift start. But again, you look at that first lap out of Stoffel, his hand still looks very busy. The same for Dutch Westbrook right through this section right here. Just still looking for that little bit of tire temperature to come in. And again, only lap number 2. We talked about lap number 4 being that money lap, so still some time to find and some pace to find out there on the racetrack. Ooh, Dutch Westbrook sideways on the exit of turn number 13. A lot of correction there out of him, and with Hudson Howard just right on his rear bumper, kind of slowed Hudson down a little bit more as well. But time starting to come in. Manalio's up to 4th. Win Gottschalk to 6th. Tarango 7th. Brody Stoffel up to 8th. And again, this group here further back still hasn't made much of an impression outside of Gottschalk.
Looks like a loose fairing there further back on the Bennick machine that just made the move.
That was Win there.
Was Win, and yeah, trying to pick out which brother it is here. Hudson Howard with a wild ride, way off, and he's going to be well out of shape for a minute. And unfortunately, caught one of the Iron Rock machines well out. That looked to be Lejek or Ahmad, one of the two.
Like
might have been Ahmad that was in the middle, and there is still chaos happening in this middle group. That good outlap for Hudson Howard now goes to the wayside. Checkers out. This will be it. Final lap, 3rd lap at speed to the line. The RPM Nitros go to the top initially. Big lap out of Zev Gottschalk by himself to go to 9th. Did anyone else have an answer? I doubt it with how chaotic that last lap was. It'll be way back before you see a big improvement. Lorenzo Lopez to 3rd, but an RPM and Nitro lockout of the front row in Mini Swift. Brody Stoffel maintains that top spot that he ended Friday in here on Saturday morning, a 59.16 with help from teammate Jake Manalio. They'll get to lead the field to green later on this morning. Lorenzo Lopez 3rd, Win Gottschalk's lap will hold in 4th. Marcelo Flores 5th, Samuel Chavarri 6th, Dutch Westbrook, Connor Lipka, Marshall Steves opening weekend in the Mini Swift category on the national stage, 9th over Yusuf Adi. And then look at some of the former race winners and front runners way back here. Zev Gottschalk's debut 12th, Lucas Tarango just ahead of him, Mason Brody 15th. Flynn Fallon's had some good runs. He's a little further back as well. And then way back with a lot of work to do here for your 3rd page, Kimo Ahmad probably hurt the most out of that last lap. He ends up 21st. Liam Francisco 25th. And out of the 35 that have turned laps in total, it goes all the way back to Sam Hornish at a 102.691. Alvaro Medeiros, no time from him. Don't know if he made it out or not. Pro and Master Shifter will be the final group to roll onto the circuit for qualifying. Then we'll be heading over to the heat races. Those will be exclusive for KC Premium members, along with the main events through to the afternoon. Sun's starting to shine here at Speedsportz, and the stars are ready for it. How about that fresh #1 plate for the 6-time Supernats champ Billy Musgrave with Factory Karts. He was quick throughout the day yesterday. Gavin Bailiff, one of the major contenders with him, though, did not go out for final practice. Justin White, a late entry. The lone Marinello on the grid. But it was the Winter Series last year that he got his first big-time win in a while. He's ready to build on momentum from 2025 and continue the growth. And ultimately, none of those names just listed ended up fastest. How about sophomore coming off a very deep end jump rookie season? John Melchiori, fastest in happy hour yesterday in the wet over Jay Irwin, who returns as one of the Skusa Circle of Champions drivers this year with a fully funded Pro Tour campaign. Cooper Becklin there on the grid, as well as Kyle Drysdale. Talk about another sipping from the fire hose type of move up from X30 Junior to Pro Shifter to go up against the driver who won here in March a year ago, Gavin Bailiff.
Yeah, Gavin, again, looking to complete a full championship run here in 2026 after getting his first taste of victory last year at this very racetrack. But interesting enough, you talk about John Paul Melchiori, right, and kind of jumping into the fire, jumping into the tank of sharks, really was driving 206 Junior 2 years ago, and last year moved up to the shifter ranks. We saw him at the Tuxpan Racing Series, see him here at the club races all the time, and again was fastest overall for Kart CRG USA. He's getting ready to lead Jay Irwin out onto the racetrack here, who, again, now the lead man for PSL karting in 2026.
As the Pro Shifters and Master Shifter driver head onto the circuit, 15 in total. David Land, what do you have for us here as we prep for our final qualifying session of round #1?
Yeah, I spoke to Jay Irwin down here on the grid right before he rolled out for qualifying here, and I asked a pretty simple question. Is the theory with a Pro Shifter the same as it was in X30, which is, do you want as many laps as possible? And Jay's response was, absolutely. You want as many laps as possible. So don't expect anybody to be waiting around here. It's going to be hot and heavy. You want as many laps as you can get. You want all the temperature in the tires. And hopefully we'll see some pretty fast times. Although, you know, as I say that, I see guys waiting around. So what do I know?
To be fair, the outlaps here for the shifters definitely look a little bit different regardless from the single speeds, even if the difference of mentality weekend to weekend or day to day changes across the board. Dave, I think you're probably right that they may try to turn it on a little bit sooner to go ahead and maximize that final lap around, or maybe get that bonus lap. I mean, they're going to be going significantly quicker just because this racetrack, albeit known as a circuit with a lot of mid-range, being that it's in a similar power band from the slowest corner to the longest straightaway, it's still a big benefit to be able to have 6 gears versus 1. So you'll see a couple seconds a lap quicker for the shifters, even if they do go a little slower on the outlap than, say, the single-speed drivers, bringing temp to all 3 brakes, 1 on each front tire and the rear axle, compared to the single-speed classes with rear brakes only, and, of course, bringing the engines up through the entirety of the gearbox. I think he might still get that final lap and be able to maximize it over drivers like Billy Musgrave, or especially Gavin Bailiff, who didn't go out for that final practice session. That will be maybe a little bit higher up than where they were slotted on the grid at this point, but still buried so far back time-wise that they might not get that 4th lap at speed and 5th lap shown on the charts. So there's the end of the outlap and the true lap at speed for them now. And as we watch the times come in, or the first lap, I should say, at full speed. Ashton Henkel on the gas, 53.105 for him. Musgrave, relatively quick, closing in on young Diego Ardiles, his 2nd year in a handful of starts he'll make in the Pro Shifter category. The driver coached by Danny Formal as he continues a split schedule between major karting events stateside, back home in Costa Rica, and of course, the USF Pro Championships if he's able to sort out his car racing plans for 2026 as well. And going up against a driver twice his age, twice the experience, and, well, 6 additional Supernats victories and a Pro Tour Championship to boot. Billy Musgrave got a great view of him right now, albeit he's already charging away. That lap for Billy, a 51.4. Irwin, a 51 flat, though, 4/10 better. Billy had to make a pass, but I don't know if that was a 4/10 swing.
Yeah, and here we go. Lap number 4 starting to come in as John Paul Mokori gets himself up to 3rd ahead of Zars and Vincent Cassard. And again, this is really the money lap, if you will, for these drivers, right? So we'll see what Billy can do. He was fast here last year whenever we were here throughout the main event and as well in qualifying. Had some good 1 lap or 2 lap speed as well for Billy. We'll see what he can do here on his last time, final time of asking.
Gavin Bailiff now closing up to Ardiles. He'll have to make quick work of him if he wants clean air for the final lap. I think they might get it. Irwin across the line still has time left. 50.37. A heater right there. Musgrave's answer still half a second off. Bailiff catching up to Ardiles, initially went to 4th, and Justin White moving up the board there. I don't know if he'll get another lap. When the 32 crossed the line, it was right as that timer at the top of the screen went blue, signaling the end of the session. So did White make it across before it or not? You can see he's all by himself, positioned perfectly to get the lap he just did and put himself provisionally on the front row. He's going to continue. So indeed, he'll have one more shot at it. Irwin as well, knowing that, is going to have to push every limit that he can. He's already out of the buckle. Jay Irwin to the last turn. White, probably the furthest one back of your major contenders. Here we go to the checkered flag. Jay Irwin coming to the line right here. 50.3, time to beat will not improve. To the line for Mokori. Noah Zarsk improves. Musgrave gets closer. White to the line, does it. Justin White, pole in Pro Shifter at a 50.14.
What a lap out of Justin White in the end to put it on the pole position by 0.2 of a second over Jay Irwin. That Maranello Carblos machine absolutely flying in Houston.
Big time plays for a big time player. Justin White, not on the pre-entry list. Wasn't sure if we would get to see him here this weekend. He's here. He's ready to get the second Winter Series win of his career. He'll get to attempt it from the inside of the front row in the pre-final later on today. Major plays there for Justin White to go a 10.5 better than the Kiwi sensation Jay Irwin. Musgrave will slot in 3rd. And just like that, it's time to switch on over to race mode. Pre-final action on tap, and a first career pole award winner gets ready to lead his first major event to green. Easton Cox on the front row of KA Junior, and we return with pre-final action from Houston. But of course, with qualifying in the books for Pro Shifter, it's our last chance to get to hear from them before they go back out onto the circuit for pre-final action. With quali wrapped, we've had some major surprises. I wouldn't call Justin White one at all, but he definitely flew under the radar yesterday, Caleb. He didn't seem to be setting the world on fire. Jay Irwin seemed to have the target on his back and the watches all on him. So to pull out the lap in qualifying that he did, and not just 1 but 2. Again, that initial lap Justin had was only 0.08 off the pace of the number 6. And Justin White last year, just shy of the Skusa Circle of Champions Fund, the top 10 in the Pro Shifter Pro Tour point standings. He would love to get into that this year. It would be a big impact for his racing program, for him and his father Jerry to be able to continue going. And the Kartworks USA Alliance with Maranello USA and Carblos Engines, obviously a rocket ship here in these colder conditions. I think that's maybe the excuse you could give for the swap from the drivers we saw fast before the rain yesterday to the drivers quick now. But every day is a new day. Every day is different. Every time you hit the racetrack, it sometimes feels a little bit different as well. Here's White rolling across and ready to go. Pro Shifter wrapped K Jr. on the other side. We'll hear from Justin and more. We return.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Indianapolis,